bobble, 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 bobble. How you think I did, Colonel? I do all right? Yeah, you know I did. I got to be on Jim Jefferies' podcast.
Got a ring to it. All right, Guy Hutchinson, how did Jim do in his knowledge of Colonel Sanders and KFC 0 through 10? 10's the best.
I mean, I'll have to go around a 4 because you got some of the major things right, and then 1 eerily correct.
Yeah, you got that one that I thought he wouldn't get. I was like, wow, you got that one.
He's a big-time famous comedian from Australia. I've been on his show one other time, and I was really glad that they asked me back. The last time I had been on about Disney. Now, you guys probably know I've written theme park books. I wrote the official book about the Sesame Street theme park in Pennsylvania. And I also wrote a book about Disney park cocktails called Bibbidi Boozidi Book, which actually was an Amazon bestseller. So I'm super proud of that weird little book. I do know quite a bit about Colonel Sanders. I'm going to tell you why, but I got some stuff to show you first. So we talked about the records on there. There is Christmas Day with Colonel Sanders. I do have this one. He does not sing on this, but they do have his official stationery there. And then this one, which we didn't talk about, this one's just called Christmas with Colonel Sanders. It's got a message from Colonel himself. No matter how many years go by or how old we get, that timeless greeting still contains a lot of magic in it. Oh, man. This is good. We will talk about this closer to the holidays, but I did want to bring these out and show them to you because I did mention them on that show. So let me take you back. Before the show started, here is me setting up. I'm at my parents' house because I'm pretty sure my 12-year-old son would be making a lot of noise regardless of what room I go into. So I figured here would be a little quieter. Not sure which hat to go with. I got this. This is going to be fun. We're talking about Colonel Sanders, which is one of my favorite subjects to talk about. So I can't wait to tell them all about it. Let me show you my setup. I got my cheap ring lights from Walmart. Took the lampshades off my mom's lamps. Going on there is it's like going on a TV show. You gotta, there's a lot of prep, and they want to make sure everything works out because it's a big time star. You gotta make sure everything works out. They seemed happy with it. The people that have watched it seem happy with it, so I'm super thankful about that. We talked about a bunch of things. One of them was the bucket. Jim said that he had heard that Dave Thomas started the bucket. I didn't know that as a fact, and I don't think that's true. I've looked it up. I think it was Pete Hartman, who was the guy who franchised out that first location in Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City was the first franchise location of KFC. Look at the Colonel there. There's the Colonel and his wife. We talked about them on the show. This is his book, Finger Licking Good. So a number of years ago, I did a show in Louisville, Kentucky. And by the way, they don't say Louisville in Louisville. They say Louisville. But for the rest of you people, I'm saying Louisville. But for those of you who are in Louisville, I know what's going down. I boned up on everything I could about Colonel Sanders. I did this panel all about the history of Colonel Sanders, and I've now done it in like a dozen cities. And so I've learned a lot more about Colonel Sanders. Every time I talk to people like Jim, I hear some nuggets of truth about Colonel Sanders and, pick those up. And so I get a little bit more information. So I love talking about Colonel Sanders. So if you're wondering, Jim does not know what we're going to talk about. So that is a shoot for you if you're a wrestling fan. Forrest and I had gone over a lot about Colonel Sanders because, they don't want to be surprised with facts about it. But Jim does want to be surprised. So, and I was harder on grading Jim than I wish I was. Like watching it back, he did a lot better than I gave him credit for. So I love talking to that guy. I love talking to all of them. I'm super thankful to them for having me on. And huge shout out to my friend Lisa Correo. She got me booked on it. They were looking for people that could, I guess, talk at length about subjects, and I was one that she thought of. We talked about Johnny Carson, and they debated whether Johnny Carson would have been on the air at that time. They're vacuuming upstairs. Johnny Carson was indeed. He started the Tonight Show 2 years before that. This is the Colonel's book, Finger Licking Good. Now, I again take every story about the Colonel with a generous helping of salt, because the man made some stories up. But in his book, he says, "I don't even mind them TV talk shows. Can't remember how many I've been on. Most of them, I guess. Merv Griffin, Dick Cavett, The Today Show. Yes, and the Johnny Carson Show. Just after I sold my business, they rolled in 3 glass-covered carts loaded with $20 bills totaling $2 million. I had 31 FBI and U.S. Treasury Department guards watching over that pile." So it's in his book, but again, I mean, I've never seen a clip of it, but it historically is probably true. Jim mentioned Chick-fil-A being at Waffle House. Now, I had never heard this. I'm a huge fan of Waffle House. I've enjoyed Chick-fil-A when I've had it, but I'm not. I like my Colonel Sanders. That's where I get my chicken. I had never heard that, and I looked it up, and I did find it. So he is telling a story that other people have told. I just don't know that it's true. I can't find any reference to it on the Chick-fil-A page or the Waffle House page or even their Wikipedia pages. It's mentioned in other articles, and I got a serious issue with it because Waffle House doesn't have a deep fryer. If you've ever been to Waffle House, they don't deep fry anything. They don't. I mean, they have hash browns, they scatter them on the grill. You can't get French fries at Waffle House. So I don't know how they would have been making these sandwiches. Not to say it's impossible. I'm just saying that to me reads like a story that's been told and retold. What probably happened, I think, is that Kathy Truitt, the founder of Chick-fil-A, probably offered the sandwich to Waffle House. Maybe they tested it out, like pre-making them and bringing them over there or something. But you can't cook a fried chicken sandwich on a griddle. By the way, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to be a Fonzie, give it a thumbs up, and while you do, go hey, because that helps the algorithm and gets more people to see these videos. It's a picture of Colonel Sanders' original. This is the original gas station and restaurant and hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Here is towards the back of his book. We talked about this a little bit on the show. Colonel Sanders said to Reverend Rogers, he said, "There's something else. All my life I've cussed. I've taken the Lord's name in vain, and it's bothered me. Can the Lord help me stop cussing?" He certainly can, the Reverend Rogers said. Life as I know it has always been finger licking good. There's some great pictures in here, him with Dionne Warwick, him with Jerry Lewis. He talks a little bit in here about race, because they did bring up race a little bit in joking around, but I've never heard anybody specifically allege that Colonel Sanders was racist. By all accounts, if he was, I feel like we would have heard it. And in his book, he talks a little bit about not being a racist person. And so my guess is, by the standard of today, sure. I mean, you know, anybody that lived in his time period was, but I would say he was probably less racist than most people that lived at his time. Well, that's it. If you have a question about it, please let me know. Right now, there'll be a box here and a box over here. You could choose either one, because I'm in both. We'll see you back here tomorrow, 2 o'clock. We'll be talking Thanksgiving stuff, not 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We're going to talk Thanksgiving stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. No turkey.